Welcome to Straight Outta Savannah. I am super, super excited. My guest David Mirsky is here, and he is going to share a little bit about who he is, what he does, and how he can help you. So, David, take it away.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So, I am a former trial attorney from New York City, and I practiced law for about 10 years. I think I knew early on that that really wasn't my life path. But as people get on in careers and do things, and you have kids, you get a mortgage, you get stuck. And I think I knew early on that I saw people ahead of me in their careers, older than me, and I saw sort of what was waiting for me, and it didn't look good. So I had the opportunity to leave law after about a decade and go west, as they say. And I moved the family out to Arizona like 20 years ago now, and doing a bunch of different things. But that has sort of put me onto my current path. So what ended up happening was I started a new business. Things were going really well. And then some unforeseen things happened with some of the companies that I was in business with. And that led to me being involved on the unfortunate side of a really big legal case for a number of years, where I ended up getting sued for $79 million. dollars. And
Ooh.
that was completely unknown territory to me, especially as a lawyer. I had no idea really what to make of that. And it's a whole long story in and of itself. I think I'm starting to talk about that in particular, but we could go on for hours about what that was. But
Mhm.
ultimately, I basically had lost everything I had worked for, everything I thought I was, your whole identity. It's like basically a crisis situation. And it went on for years. I mean, it was something that I couldn't really extricate myself from easily, and it took a long time. So, how do you live day to day with a situation like that, knowing that, there's all kinds of unknown hanging over your head and you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring? And so it's a lot of like fight or flight situation, and you've got like fear, and then of course that developed into really significant anger toward the people that I saw putting me in that situation. And so that did fortunately resolve after 6.5 years. And so, but I was left totally scarred from that, and kind of lost and really broken from that situation, because although the case itself resolved, and I'll say favorably to me, in that I didn't owe anybody one penny out of the 79 million, and I had no adverse impact from the way the case resolved. But it was more like, okay, we're finished with you. You can go your way, we'll go our way, and good luck to you. But anybody who's been through a situation like this, which I'm happy to say is very few,
Yeah.
but we all go through these different things, and so that I didn't know how to really deal with that unresolved anger. And a couple of friends of mine in my larger friend group uh, came to me and said that they had heard about this thing called ayahuasca,
Mm.
and want
Oh,
to
wow.
but I want to sit with them with it. And so we started to look at it and look into it and research it, and it took some time. But
Yeah.
I think, like, after a number of months we of some real serious investigation, we decided to do it. And that goes all the way back to February of 2017, which interestingly on my new path is a year that I understand from several unrelated sources was a time that a lot of people in the collective, let's say, got awakened
Yes.
in different ways.
Yes.
And so, do you know about that date in particular?
I just know that in that year, it was
Yeah.
another one for me. Like I
Yeah.
believe that we continue to have awakenings
Right.
as we grow. And that was
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah.
I call them tower moments.
Yeah. So this is like, so I'm a former attorney. I mean, I'm still a licensed attorney, but I no longer, practiced after that point, since I moved to Arizona.
I get
So,
that.
I'm looking into this. I had never tried a psychedelic substance in my life. I really didn't do anything up until that point, really. And so this was like a very far reach for me. And looking back now, I know that there was a purpose behind it,
Yes.
especially bringing someone to it that had no experience at all,
Yes.
none. And so it was a magical experience for me. I was able to use that that time, and it was one night in the desert in Tucson. And so you know Tucson a little, right?
Yes.
You live there.
Yeah.
This was off the grid, like absolutely out in the desert, and there was like a makeshift structure. And you're sitting there saying you're going to go sit with 15 strangers and some helpers that were along, and basically you're sitting in a circle, and it's okay, it's your turn, drink this. And it takes a lot to give up that kind of control and have that kind of trust. But fortunately, I did. And it really was a lifesaver for me because I came face to face with the people that I had identified as really bringing this harm upon me.
Yes.
But instead of the usual anger that I was harboring, I got to see, I got to step outside of myself
Mhm.
and look at these people. And instead of feeling the anger and resentment, I was able to see and feel what it was like to be them and what they were going through in their lives that enabled them to put themselves in the situation that ultimately, I got into. And how is it that they could do these things to other people? And I got to feel compassion for these people for pain that they were feeling. And so to be able to step outside of my own anger and feel compassion for people that were causing me pain was something that I had never experienced before. But it was such a gift and it lightens my heart so much that I was freed from this burden of anger, which I understood was something that I was imposing on myself,
Yes.
and that I was free to put that burden down. And
Yes.
so I knew from that moment that a lot of the pain and things that we carry, we do so out of habit and out of just being kind of passive in the way life comes to us,
Yeah.
but that we don't have to do that.
No.
And so I was able to put that down and basically step into a new life. And it took some years after that, but had gradually taken me on my current road, my current path, which is to learn about other plant medicines and other modalities, other healing modalities,
Yes.
and then integrate that ultimately into my not only my current business, but more and more into my current personal path in life, and to be
Yes.
able to use these medicines and learn what they give you and then employ them and now offer that to other people to tell them, hey, this is what I have learned. These things are out there for you as well, no
Yeah.
matter where you come from, no matter what your background is.
Yeah.
If you looked at me, I'm a Jewish lawyer from Philadelphia and New York, and now I'm out here in the West, sitting in the desert, drinking ayahuasca, talking about healing. So this is nothing I could have written for myself, but like I've seen this gift of healing is so powerful that now I want to bring that to, everybody who is open to hear it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I get that. That's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Sitting with the mother, ayahuasca, I have been wanting to do that so long.
Yeah.
And I told my husband, I said, it's time that we go do that. I said, because I
Yeah.
know everybody that I know that has done it. I actually read Will Smith's book just recently,
Okay. Right.
407 freaking pages, but
Wow.
it was so good. And he talked about that.
Right.
He went and experienced ayahuasca. He said that, and he's the same. He said he didn't even drink. He didn't do
Right.
substances or anything, no weed or nothing. I was like, what? But but when he went and did that, he said it was amazing. He
Yeah.
said, so he went back and did it 15 more times.
Wow. I don't have that many under my belt, but I have a few and they're all very memorable. And then I branched out into other medicines as well. And now especially where you're at in Washington, is a very progressive state. You have Oregon that has brought on legalized psilocybin mushrooms.
Yeah, but they're still hard to find, people that I think they're just so used to being underground.
Yeah, so there's a transition. And so people have the choice now whether they're investigating these things. Of course, there are a group of people who would feel more comfortable with something being totally above ground and legal and licensed. And then there are other people who still are into sort of staying with the underground where these things have been taught forever. And
Right,
there's and I'll say that there are wonderful people on sort of both sides of it. And
right.
I think as it transitions, things are becoming legal. I mean, you have Oregon, you have Colorado, you have other states, including Arizona, which traditionally is a very conservative state, but everyone,
They were legal when we were there.
yeah.
And before I think right before we left or right after we left, they voted it in for totally legal. Because I had a medical card when I was there.
For marijuana, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Right. So, like, why would a state like Arizona get behind this and now considering MDMA and psilocybin?
Because
I
those
mean,
things really help people.
of course. And
Of
so,
course, controlled. I mean, you're not going to be, popping Molly like all the time. And
right,
I've never actually used Molly either, but I did ask my children who all have.
right. Molly is such a heart opener and it's so healing in its own right. People, of course, know it because been the party drug
Right.
of the, 80s to 90s. I mean, and continues like the rave drug.
Yeah. Even
And certainly, it is. So people are surprised often to hear that it has this really powerful healing ability when people use it in these.
correctly.
Yeah, correctly, I guess, is an open term, of course, but
Right.
to really take like an inward journey, most often and best if it's guided, at least at the beginning, by people who are really experienced in the medicine.
Yes.
And it can be used in conjunction with other plant medicines to sort of improve or just deepen that experience. So
Yes.
these are things that I kind of exposed myself to. And COVID, excuse me, COVID was a really great time for that because the world stopped.
Yeah.
And out of, all the really horrible things that we experienced during COVID, we did have the benefit of being able to experience things that we probably will never have that kind of time in our lives again.
I said that. I
So,
said that.
yeah,
It felt so, to me, COVID was an expander
yeah,
because, we couldn't go to the movies, these things that we, whatever we like to do to, get away or whatever, everything was shut down. And so
right.
you had to be with yourself.
Right. And so it was such a magical time
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. And so I use that to expand my experiences with different plant medicines like Molly, like mushrooms, like LSD, um, and dimethyltryptamine, which DMT, and a couple of forms of DMT, which is what the main people think colloquially, it's the main active ingredient in ayahuasca.
Yes. Yeah.
Certainly, it's not the whole part of the medicine at all
Right.
because DMT experience separately is it's not ayahuasca, and so it's a different experience. But they all have these, their own ways. There's a lot of crossover in those compounds, and then they have their individual parts to them. So that really had set me on the path to start to get into these substances, investigate their legalities, use my legal background to kind of figure out a new path and how I can bring this to people who are increasingly waking up. I mean, it's not for everybody.
Right.
I people all the time. My wife, she is not participating in any of this, right? And I use that and I tell people that to kind of establish some credibility and say that, look, my own wife doesn't do this. It's not for everyone, but
Right.
for people that are thinking about it, you will know, right? And so my message there to these people is to say that you're going to have doubts. You're going to have people that give you doubts. You're going to have your own self-doubt. You're going to have fears that are built around these experiences.
Yeah.
And these are completely legitimate
Hmm.
and they won't go away. Like you think if you have experience that you'll get over these fears and you don't. I think it's a very healthy human reaction to be a little resistant and the human condition is just to be a little fearful of these things because they bring about such a change in your consciousness, in
Yes.
the way you realize or you thought that you existed. And really, the fundamentally who we are as people and who you are as an individual and what your place is in this world. And so that kind of change can be threatening to the ego and to your physical body because that's who we are. But what I've essentially taken out of this is, if I can make, really big generalizations,
Hmm.
is that we are a lot more than our physical bodies.
Yes.
And we are really spirit beings that are having this wonderful human experience that can be
Yes.
really hard at times,
Yes.
but that we're here to learn things in the earth school is what
Yes.
I call it. Certainly, that's not a term that I coined, right? But
No, but
um,
that's what we use.
sure, it comes from a lot of teachers and
Yeah.
people that have these experiences. And so when you look at it that way, you realize that, first of all, I've had experiences now knowing that I'm never going to die. And I think that's such a comforting thing. I listened to, there was some podcast relating to a movie. I don't know what it's called, but these aliens come down basically. And the interesting thing was these aliens knew exactly the date of their death. And as
Oh.
humans, our initial reaction is to say, oh my goodness, I would never want to know that. How could I live knowing where my end is going to be? But the really interesting part about this was that the aliens had the exact opposite view, where they were comforted knowing when that was, that if they had to be in our situation, not knowing if you were going to live 1 second or one day to the next,
Hmm.
they didn't know how to deal with that. And so you can see they're equally kind of scary
Yeah.
and unnerving to people not knowing it. Now, of course, we're in this situation where we don't really know, right? And so, my view on that is you don't know. So you really have to value every second of every day as being God-given and wonderful. Now, do I do that? No, I don't, because I'm not perfect and right? So I espouse these things, but I'm human too, right? I like to say to everyone, I'm on the same path. I've got the same problems
Same
and
problems.
and the same things creep up,
It
time and
is.
again.
I tell
So,
people that's how I can talk to you
yeah,
because I deal with these things every
yeah.
day sometimes.
Right, of course, right? So what I've taken from that is what I have amassed for myself through my experiences though are tools in a toolbox. And
Yes.
so I'm able to, without the ego that I used to have, is to say, that's a thing that I kind of continually do that's really not great. This is like, this is the way I react to these things, and there's a better way to do it. So now, though, when I catch myself kind of falling back into old routines, is I pull out the toolbox and I say, don't have an ego about this. Recognize that, you're not perfect and you're doing this thing.
Yes.
And now you have a tool that shows you how to stop that thing. And
Yeah.
then over time, if you can change behavior and make the effort and just try to improve yourself, then don't worry about the times you've kind of fall back into the old patterns. Just try to now get out of them as quickly as you can, and you're better and happier for it. And
Yeah.
so just go about the day realizing that this is a magnificent experience, although every day brings kind of unknown things, and things are going to happen to you and people are going to do things to you, and you're still going to go through these things. But has it changed you? Has it helped you to improve so that you do this with a little more grace? And that's all we can really ask. And so that's what I'm trying to offer to people.
That is so powerful. And do you do more private sessions or do you do more group things or how do you?
So right. Thank you for asking that. So for the first time, some people in this space like will know of Billy Carson.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm working with Billy Carson. We've done some podcasts together, and Billy will take people around the world to sites like Egypt, which he's done for decades, I think
Yeah,
already,
yeah, yeah.
but a lot of other places too. And but he hasn't done plant medicine. Now, he had recently talked about on a podcast that we did that I've kind of featured that on the front page of my website on Sabonic. which is cannabis in reverse for people that sounds like a weird name. So the
Yeah.
name of my company is Sabonic. So that's the name.
I love it.
Yeah. So he did have an experience recently, and that was really life-changing for him. And he goes and talks about things from childhood, things he was able
I
to
can
look
see
at.
that because when I watched
Right?
him, I thought if he would do some plant medicine, he would go way to the moon.
Yeah.
Because to me,
So
he's the moon.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was, and literally and figuratively to the moon. So, when we talked, we said, look, I think it's a great opportunity because it doesn't impact anything that you currently do in your current work. So let's kind of get into this together and explore this and give people experiences now where they can do these things and use his massive following. And he's got millions of followers
Go
across
right to him.
platforms,
Because I
right?
watch him on YouTube and
Yeah. Yeah, and he's
if
great and he's
Walker
so
somewhere,
smart.
no.
He's got so much going on and so much experience and so much wisdom. And so I said, look, let's just put this together. Now we can expand it and do this together in Sabonic. And we've talked about like how he might want to go public, and he's relying on me in part because Sabonic is a microcap public company. And so we're like kind of the first public company getting into experiences.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
where people can. And so we're doing a first small event here in Phoenix, actually, where it's going to be featured around ketamine, principally because ketamine is legal. And
Yeah,
so we have,
that's another one I've got.
yeah, and it's not a traditional psychedelic. It's not a psychedelic at all, right? It's
Right.
an anesthetic, but having used it a few times myself, I don't have vast experience, but it does have crossover experience that you would get with other traditional psychedelics. So it
Okay.
really does have its place in this sort of broader family of medicines that have been really, really helpful to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's got a head start because it's legal, because of just the nature of that. And
Hmm.
so we're seeing that that's changing. And then if you go internationally, you can have some great experiences with ayahuasca, which you can do everywhere now, but it doesn't have that legal stamp. Although there are some groups that have exceptions, they get exemptions. But mostly you're going to have to find a trusted source, whatever that medicine is in ayahuasca or mushrooms. And you can have these experiences so domestically or internationally, and they're kind of fall into all kind of price ranges. So I think
So
there's an appropriate, yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
please, no, go ahead.
I was just saying, so do you, because I had heard that you should go to Peru or Mexico or somewhere down,
Yeah,
south and do it. But I want to do it, me and my
yeah,
husband. So I was looking for some place that, you know, was trusted.
yeah. That's the biggest thing. So we had been looking at, and we were actually had scheduled a retreat in Costa Rica.
Hmm.
And so I'll say these things. You definitely want a trusted place, but but when you look at like traveling internationally, the cost is big. These retreat centers are usually very expensive.
Right.
And and that doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to get the best experience or the best one for you.
Right.
You know, so as I said, like when I did this 10 years ago almost, I think the night of ayahuasca that changed my life cost me about $150. So I think that it's a little more expensive now, but
Right.
it's not thousands of dollars,
Right.
right?
So
And
people can
so
reasonably do it without, especially now with the travel, the plane.
absolutely. And if you're, no matter where you are, just about in every state, there are really schooled, committed practitioners who have been trained, oftentimes in South America, where the traditional ayahuasca comes from, but now they're offering it like in a town and, right near you. And that doesn't mean that they're not trusted either, even though the legality of it is certainly in a gray area.
Right.
So I would say you definitely do your research and see if people have experience and if there are kind of reviews like you would look at anything else. But if you're looking for it, although you can have a phenomenally and a very deep experience in the Amazon or South America or in Mexico, where these medicines have been used for thousands of years. And there is a very special component to it when it is done in those locations. However, you can have a magical, life-changing experience to put you on your path where you are. And so don't put it away just because you know the travel is not practical or the cost is not practical. There is a solution near you, I think that is. And so, you know, that's my message now. Get out to people. You certainly don't have to do it with me. You don't have to travel to me. There is something more likely than not very close to you that's affordable.
That's good to know because that is
Yeah,
something that I think to be honest with you, it feels like a next level type of thing. You know what I
it is.
mean?
It
Because
is.
I did some mushrooms and that was
Yeah.
Woo, when I tell you it was almost overwhelming how like I had my gifts. It almost looked like
Oh
every
yeah.
single one of them opened up at the same time.
Oh yeah.
It was
There's
almost
yeah.
overpowering, but it was
There's
amazing.
nothing more powerful in the psychedelic sense than mushrooms. I
Yeah,
mean, so when people say you jumped right into ayahuasca, there's nothing more powerful than that. I wouldn't really put it in those terms. I mean, the like mushrooms are kind of as powerful as it gets. I mean, the insights that you get, you just have to be sure that you're doing it again with the right people,
yes,
someone who's got experience. And again, it, you know, the terms that are used very broadly in this area are set and setting, right? That your mindset is right and that the location is right, that you have a teacher who's right. And so, you know, if all those conditions are there, I think those are the makings for a really transcending experience. But yeah, I mean, you kind of have to be prepared, especially when you're doing this for the first time. You know, you don't do it alone, right? There are
right
people that
now.
walk you through it because they're really, really powerful substances. And I think the most powerful thing about it is that you kind of have a sense, even if you can't explain it, that, whoa, like there's something more to me than this physical body. There's something more to this world than the things that I normally thought were the 3D environment that I can touch and taste and feel around me. There's something way deeper here, and there certainly is. I mean, I can absolutely confirm that. Um, but the point of all of it is to use what you learn to improve this life. It's
Yeah,
not to escape, right? That's what people say very often. Oh,
yeah,
you're looking to just trip out and escape. A
yeah,
lot of these experiences, especially the really powerful and productive and most successful ones, are hard. They're not recreational.
right.
These substances, in their own ways, have the ability to make you confront your stuff
Yeah,
and not be able to kind of get out of it.
yeah,
So you know that can be very powerful. That is something that make people really afraid. When I tell people what you really want to be afraid of is the truth.
yes.
Because when you see the truth in a way that you can't run from it, that is scary,
That
right?
is so scary.
Those are the biggest opportunities for you to learn
Yeah,
and to really improve, but it's hard. It's work. And so, you know, they give you the ability to have that kind of experience, but you've kind of got to be prepared to take the step because especially with the mushrooms, it's like a school and they're all like that. Once you're in schools in session, you're there to learn and you can't really get away, so you have to be ready,
yeah. I agree.
you know?
That is so powerful. I mean, I think about that and I think about 10 years ago, you said you were a lawyer. 20 years ago?
Really 20, yeah, yeah,
20
yeah.
years ago, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay. So how do your people feel about that? Your
Um, that's
colleagues
a great,
or
that's a great question. And when I started on this, I'm not a social media person either, but I was called last year to put my experiences in front of the camera and on social media and talk about them because that's really I'm like a bridge. It's
yeah,
especially because I'm not traditionally that woo-woo person. I
yeah,
have this conservative nature about me in a lot of ways. But I think so I can talk to people that come from more of a conservative background, maybe
Yes,
even
yes.
people that come from religious backgrounds.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I don't think there's anything in contrast between religion and the psychedelic practices. In fact, there's a lot of evidence that traditional psychotropic substances were part of our organized religions, Christianity and others
I can
that
see
come out of
that.
older religions, that the blood and the wine of Christ were actually psychedelic substances. There's a lot of evidence to this. I think that over millennia, we've suppressed these substances
Yeah,
mainly for control. Because once the powers that be know that people, that yourself, you can have a connection with higher consciousness, that sort of erodes the traditional control features that we've been exposed to in our society. And religion, as good as it is, and it is also a part of that, where
yes,
here's a this is a way that you need to act. Here are the rules of our religion. And so they kind of put us in boxes
yeah,
where the psychedelics open that and say, hey, it doesn't matter what your religion is. Those are wonderful. Bring that on in and use that experience because that's who you are. And then learn how to expand your consciousness in that framework.
yeah.
And so I then started this YouTube channel called the Meru Sky, which is an interesting name and how I got the name, but it comes out of a psychedelic journey itself. And so I'm talking to people about the A's and B's of what ayahuasca is like, what acid is like, and mushrooms. And then the second part about it is what have I learned from it? What are the lessons? And how have I employed them to make my life happier? But when I was getting into this, my wife, my family, colleagues, people were saying, hey, people are going to think you're crazy. It's going to negatively impact your business and yada, yada. And so all of those things are normal and responsible things to consider. I just got to the point in my life where I realized I'm on the right track. This is my path. And I really don't care about personal opinion. What I really care about are the people that are awakening and the people that I can help. The other people I'm not concerned about. God bless you. If you're listening and you're open and you have questions and you think this might be for you, then I'm your guy. And I'm going to talk to you about these experiences. And I don't care about anybody else or anybody else's views on it because there are people that I can help. And that's my calling in life now.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm going to do. And so there's nothing more satisfying to me than seeing someone get opened up by a psychedelic journey and know that now they're on the path and that they've seen something that they've lived their whole lives not knowing was there. And
Hmm.
nothing's more rewarding than that. Nothing.
Can't
So
even think of anything. That's powerful.
no, it's more powerful than anything you can experience to bring that joy and peace to somebody who knows that now they're an everlasting being.
Yeah,
Well, how do you really compete with that?
you can. And
And
the thing is people are looking for that.
of course,
What
and
people
then
want.
there's nothing provable in this. Just like in your religion, there's nothing provable, right? You have
Right.
a faith in it. In the psychedelic process, you have an experience. And so people then can say, well, that's just a hallucination and all the things. But that always comes from people that have never had the experience.
Okay, so that it's another thing, like it's almost that thing where, people that have never had children
Yeah,
will tell you all about how to raise yours. And you're
right,
like, I mean, did
right.
you, maybe it was a past life. I don't know, but yeah, yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's for the people that are looking to be opened, right?
Yes,
Those are the people that it's for because and this is not to be forced on anyone. If you feel like I think this is part of my path, it's open to everyone. You will find yourself in a ceremony with people of every different age. You have men, you have women, you have people who identify as anything and everything. You
right.
have all the races, you have everything. And the one common thing that comes out of it, really, if I can draw some commonalities,
Yeah.
is that you learn that we are all God's children. And you don't have to put even that in the traditional religious context
Right,
because if
right.
you're talking to anybody, I do believe there's a higher power. I
Yes.
do believe there is a universe. I have seen and experienced miraculous things. And
Yes.
I know that we are all tied together up in, heaven, if and whatever term you might want to put to it.
Right.
And we all come from there. We are all going to there. And that should be really comforting. And that, but more importantly, while we're here, is we are each other's keepers. We
Yes.
should be looking out for each other.
Yes.
That if you do a good deed for somebody, even a total stranger, you are doing a good deed for the universe.
Yes.
And that will be very satisfying, when people know when you help another person, it's a very rewarding thing. And so that's who we are. And so that's one of the main lessons I've taken from it, and one of the things that kind of just keeps me going.
If you were to encounter someone who similar to you, like maybe they were doctor, lawyer, psychiatrist, whatever,
Yeah.
for 10 years.
Yeah.
And they got the call. They said, hey, enjoy this. What I really want to do is, I want to go and do readings, or I want to go and, you know, learn human design or, something like that. Because people,
Yeah.
jump. And so what would you tell them?
I've thought a lot about this. I've been asked this a number of times, and if I simplify it, of course, there's no simple answer. And myself, I didn't make that jump out of law and move across the country, and didn't come into this area, right? I told you I went through this whole tumultuous experience. So, but I didn't make that just willy-nilly. There are practical realities, right? You have kids, you have families, you have bills. You can't just
Yeah.
say, I think I'd like to do this thing, but how am I supposed to make that jump? And
Yes.
so, yes, you do have to do it responsibly, and it's harder for some people than others.
Yeah.
But what I'll tell you is when you recognize everybody here has a purpose, like a God-given purpose, and we're all here to do different things. That's the beautiful thing about the world. And we're all endowed with specific gifts that we can bring to the world and bring to other people. And if you're not happy in your life and what you're doing, it's fundamentally because you're not living your purpose. And more people than not, if you ask them, if you could put all the challenges and doubts aside, and you could succeed and you were guaranteed success at the thing in your heart you knew you really wanted to do you know what that thing is? And most people would say, absolutely, I know what that is. Of course, I know what that is. Then you know that's your purpose, right? Now, once you know that, how do you go about achieving it? And so, if you can't do it today because you've got a job and all the things, is there one thing you could do today that would take you one step closer to that? And
Yes.
is that something you maybe need to break off a little time for on the weekend or after work at night? Do that one thing and then do that second thing. And little by little, if you just stay to it, life will change in ways that you have no idea, that you could never foresee, because we're not given that gift of sight and what God or the universe has laid out for us.
No,
But
we're
we
giving it for other people.
sure, sure. Oh, that's way easier. Of course it is. Of
It's like I can
course it
see
is.
theirs, I can see hers, his,
Yeah,
it's like
right.
mine. What am I supposed to do? God, which what, universe, source, whatever you want to call
Exactly,
them.
exactly. But so we don't have the power to make the changes and how to figure out how to get from A to B. But if you take some action, and this world is comprised of action. I always say that this is the Earth School. This is a physical place. We're
Yes.
non-physical beings, but we're having this physical experience, and we all know what that's like. It can be rough and tumble and hard, and all
Mhm.
the different kind of things life throws at us. So what you need to do is just have the faith that if you take those couple of steps to the thing that you know you were meant here to do, watch out, because the universe will reorganize all kind of things to bring you to that peace. And it won't be overnight. Sometimes it can take a long time. And that's why people lose faith because, well, it's easy to start things, very hard to finish them. But if you just do it little by little and don't demand too much of yourself, because that's what gets people to quit.
Yes.
right? If you
Yes.
can do it little by little, be okay with it little by little, and then kind of put yourself in that really good feeling of excitement like a child. It's
Yes.
really about getting back to being childlike more than people know,
Yes.
because children don't have these limitations that we put on
No.
ourselves
No.
once we grow up and we think we're all schooled and we get out into the world and we're responsible and we have bank accounts and law degrees and all this other junk, right?
Mhm.
We lose that childness, that childish kind of excitement about us, and that is exactly the energy, the frequency that I talk about a lot that we need to put into the world, and then the world responds to that frequency. So if that transition you're trying to make out of the thing you don't want to do and you're not happy with is by little progress over time, try to get yourself in that feeling and energy, the vibration of excitement, and then watch out and watch what happens.
Woo, I can say that that is amazing because that is exactly what I have done because I
Sure.
also um, used to be a nurse
Great.
and I have not done that. It's been over a year now. So it's been amazing, but it was time, but I didn't plan anything. Like I really didn't. It was one of those things like, God, I don't even know what to do, but it came, everything worked out and everything went where it went. And I did like you. I kept my license, but
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
No. But look at the gifts. Like you're a healer, obviously, right? So the way you decide to go about that may change over time, but essentially you're a healer, and then you did that for quite a while, I'm assuming, right? And so now maybe you want to change how you do that. And so I feel like in some way I'm not traditionally a healer like that, but I've had healing, and I like to say I am not the way, right? I make no claims whatsoever, but I have experienced in a very small way that light. And I know that that is available to me. It's available to everybody. I have nothing to do with it. I have just seen it. And if you're interested, I can point you in a direction where you can find it as well.
That's
So
awesome.
it has nothing to do about me. It's just I've kind of seen the path. And if you're looking for the path, it is open to you. You will find it. And that's what I'm here to do.
That is so powerful. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I could talk to you all day, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna end this plane.
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
gonna ask that question. If there
Yeah.
was anything in the world that you could change, what would
Yeah.
it be and why?
So this gets back to, I think that, again, we're these magnificent soul beings, and that each of us is a point of light from God and the universe. And what I would change is I see too many people going about their day, getting onto the subway or the bus and getting to the job and punching the clock and going through the mundane things and being unhappy essentially because people have hard lives frequently, and we're limited by things. I've got this job I don't like, I don't make enough money for this, and all the different things.
Yeah.
And what I would change is this realization that if you can go about your day, especially when things kind of get tough, and know and understand that in each of us, you are God.
Mm.
At the individual level, you are God. You are this one point of light, but you are also the entire universe. And if you think you're limited, or that people are better than you, or that you see people on social media and television and the movies, and they're famous people and rich people and they're actors and all the things,
Mhm.
fundamentally, you are exactly the same. And so, what I would want people to know is you have unlimited value.
Mm.
You are the entire universe cooped up into this one little person.
Yeah.
But inside that, you are everything. And
Mm.
please go about your day and know that.
And I have not gotten that answer once.
Okay,
So that was great. I always
great.
tell people I've had probably, I think, over 200 interviews,
Wow.
and I've not ever heard that. So that's amazing because I always look to hear if that's the same as any of the other ones. I think I only got something, I mean, three times, I think, the same. But otherwise, everybody's just different. And that was perfect
Great.
because
Well,
that's what we need in this world.
that's what we need. So I'm glad. Yeah, I hope that resonates with at least somebody out there, right?
Oh,
If
yeah, definitely.
you could change one person's day or get to just one person, again, see that then you're getting to the universe.
Yeah,
Just one person at
that
a
is
time.
so powerful.
Yeah.
So, David, let the people know where is the best place to connect with you.
Sure.
And if you
Yeah.
anything that you're pushing out or, programs or whatever, share.
Yeah. So, my channel, the Meru Sky, Meru on YouTube. I'm on TikTok and Instagram, but the long form content is easiest to see, and then of course the shorts and
That's it.
everything. But YouTube has it all, and um, we are through the company. We are putting out this. It's a very small um, retreat in Phoenix, March 4th to the 7th. It's a little more intricate, but based around ketamine, we have a doctor, so it's legal and it's very safe and being administered by very experienced people. So it's going to be under 10 people because it's a very intimate experience, and we want to give people the most time and attention. And this is great for somebody who's never had a psychedelic experience because it's a little lighter than if you just jump into ayahuasca or psilocybin. So I think it's great for anybody and everybody, but especially kind of those first timers. So if anyone's interested in that, you can reach out to me through the company or media at syncinc.com. Maybe we can put that in the notes
Yes.
um, with the contact information. And so, yeah, kind of hurry up because we're getting on the ball with Billy Carson, and we're looking to sell that out. So there's not that much time as we're coming up into February, but again, that's March 4th through the 7th. It's going to be wonderful. We've got a beautiful residence. Everything is done within there, so all the meals and and the lodging is all taken care of, so you don't have to worry about any of that. So it's going to be a great experience, and hope to see some of you there maybe.
Yeah. You're going to probably sell out really quickly if you're doing it with
I
Billy.
I hope so. Yeah. Well,
That's
that's
huge.
the idea, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
love to do that, but we will be in Tennessee at that very
Okay.
day. And I was
Okay.
like, because when I heard you saying, I said, let me write that down. I said, because we don't, we would drive down there.
Well, and by the way, for other people that might have like some people in their group, to make it even more economical, if you have like a group of people, like a few friends, and it can be, three, four, usually the ideal is about four, at least four to six people that might be interested. We can set these experiences up really a la carte.
Okay.
So if you're more comfortable with your own group, sometimes some people are, we can certainly do that. So just reach out and we can set something up that's really customized.
Sounds good. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Did y'all hear
absolutely.
that? He can customize the experience to you.
That's what it's about.
All right. I am so grateful. And I've enjoyed this. I'm going to go Abraham Hicks. I've enjoyed this interaction immensely.
You too.
I'm so
Thank
glad.
you again. Thanks for giving
Yeah,
me the opportunity to talk to your people. I really appreciate it. And that
definitely.
I'm doing the thing now that I want to do, right? So that puts me in my, excitement. So I'm doing what I'm talking about, and that's what I'm telling everyone else to do as well.
I always tell people, I said, I live the mission.
Yeah.
I don't I'm not just talking about this stuff. I said, most of the things I talk about, I've already done,
Yeah.
or I'm doing, or I'm looking, researching, and I'm taking you on the journey.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, it's all good. But we definitely, I'll probably have to bring you back in another year or so
I would love to.
because I
Absolutely.
know things are going to be different for you. I can feel it.
You can feel it? Okay. Well, that's exciting. I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
I I feel like I'm excited too. So it'll be interesting to see what the year brings.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so cool. All right. Thank you so much for watching, y'all. This has been such an amazing show. I've enjoyed this brother so much, and he is doing such beautiful things. So make sure that you're following him because I don't know what it is. To me, it feels like you're going to just expand, like you're gonna blow up. All of a sudden, it's like, dang, I interviewed him.
Well, good. I hope so.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're so welcome.